is Simon, and today we're going to be looking at gangs awareness training. This training is brought to you by Reconnect, the Christian mentor team. Today, many of our young people are involved in street drug dealing and gang culture. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our young people to this. And today I want to bring you some training just to raise awareness about why people join gangs, what is about to be in a gang, and how we can look at trying to support these people to exit gang life. So we'll start with, what is a gang? The word gang can mean many different things to many different people. You can get things called a gang of builders. It's usually a group of people. You can get urban street gangs. You get all different kind of gangs. But a lot of young people are stigmatized today as well, because they may be hanging around with their friends outside a shop or on a park, and people can look at them and think, yeah, they're a gang, they're up to no good. You can get crews as well. People are called crews. You can get cabin crew. You can get all different types of crews. It's a group of people. But again, a crew can be somebody who breaks the law. It can be a criminal organisation in which the law is broken on a regular basis. And for the more high-level criminals in the criminal underworld who do big drug deals and armed robberies and things like that, they're called OCGs, which is organised crime gangs. As we said before, a group of friends hanging around on the street, parks or shopping centres is what a lot of young people do. And so they will say they are not in a gang, but police and other people will use the word gang to describe them, even though they don't think they're in a gang themselves. Police definition of young people in a gang is criminal network, group of individuals involved in persistent criminality for some form of personal gain, which includes profit and to gain status. All young people want stripes, they want recognition, they want notoriety, which finds them committing acts of violence and things like that to get them to that status. And it's causing considerable harm to the community and the taxpayer because it costs so much money to bring people to trial and that. So a murder trial, it costs about £3 million to actually organise a murder trial, from arrest to court to incarceration. Why do people join gangs? There are many different reasons why young people join gangs. A lot of people, when you look behind the gang and behind the young person, they find identity by joining gangs. They get recognition. You might get a quiet person who has no friends, and when he's shown interest by other people that are in a gang, this could be the missing piece in his life, something that gives him a sense of identity. A lot of young people who join gangs are in the care system, so they're placed in social care because they've suffered rejection from the families, and it gives them a sense of belonging. The gang becomes their new family, and they're seen, when they see these people on the streets doing what they're doing, it's very appealing to them, and they get drawn to that. They get drawn to that family, even if it's the wrong kind of family. This is what they get drawn to. Along with this, because they're around so many people who commit acts of violence, it will make them think that they are safer. So they think, yeah, I've got this gang behind me now, so if I get in a problem, the gang will protect me. They also think that they will make money, because most gangs, especially urban street gangs, they're selling drugs, and they are making money. They've got different drug lines going out, inter-county lines, which is selling drugs in other towns, selling drugs on the street, which we call shotting. So they know they can make money out of it as well. And when they see the person wearing the nice trainers, the nice tracksuit, the nice watch, he's driving the latest car, they want a part of that. Bonding and group identity are an important part of social life and growing up. But when a bond is based around crime, violence is usually not far away. Gangs also have rivals, which young people will call ops. And they may give the reasons for them being a rival due to things like territory. A lot of gangs are arguing over postcodes. We call it postcode wars, and it's ironic that none of the young people actually own that postcode or that street. They don't even own a house. So it's ironic that they're fighting and killing each other over a postcode. I've even worked with people who they live on 2 different streets, not a stone's throw away, in the same area, and they're rivals because of that postcode, let alone people who live in different areas of the inner city. So this postcode wars have been going on for a long time, and what you'll find as well is you might get 2 young people who have grown up together, their mums or their dads are best friends, one's moved out to another part of the city, one gang goes to the other gang's area or their ends to take off the door to commit violence, and their friend is in that house. What do you do when it gets to that situation? So this is when all these postcode wars can get terribly messy. A lot of the violence is due to dispute over a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Somebody's seen somebody's girlfriend, somebody said something about somebody's girlfriend. A lot of the murders that have been committed are actually over a girl or a boy, and it's very sad that that's the detriment of that somebody would take a life over that. Another argument is where somebody said something about somebody else. And of course, with social media now, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all those platforms, there's a lot going on those platforms of people disrespecting each other. And a lot of the gangs do it by music. So they'll put a diss track out where, a drill track where they're actually dissing another gang. And from that, when they meet up on the streets, it's on. They got beef with each other and they want to fight or they want to kill. So social media plays a massive part, or the way social media is used by gangs. It starts beef, it starts war on the streets. Another thing where the violence comes in is theft. And one of the biggest thefts on the streets is not taking somebody's chain or taking their bike or whatever, it's taking somebody's phone. When I say their phone, I don't mean their personal phone, I mean their phone, which is a drug line. That phone is probably worth tens of thousands. That phone probably makes a few £1,000s a week. So that's the phone that they would sell drugs to addicts, usually crack and heroin addicts, who they call cats. And that phone, it doesn't matter who's got the phone, but if you've got the phone and you've got the food, the drugs to sell to that person, then they don't care where they buy it from. So a lot of people's phones get taken, and then they've then took that line over, and now they are, they've took somebody's business basically. And then obviously people are going to want to kill you for that. Again, we just spoke about it, but about drugs as well. You get a lot of people going around actually robbing other drug dealers, because when you rob another drug dealer, the drug dealer can't go to the police and say, this guy's just took my stash. So a lot of violence goes around with that, and a lot of people take people's drugs, which are usually large amount of drugs. And with anything that's worth thousands and thousands of pounds, if you're taking that, there's going to be a danger, there's going to be violence, and people can lose their lives over it. Disrespect, obviously said, social media, but they can disrespect in person as well. Disrespecting someone, calling somebody, showing a disrespect, going into somebody's area, because everybody has different area or different ends. This can start violence, and then they call it, got caught slipping, somebody will go into the wrong area, they'll get spotted, and somebody can come for them and want to cause them harm for stepping in a different territory. Before all of this, as we said, we spoke about the vulnerable people who join gangs for identity and to actually become a sense of belonging. People haven't got no family. So we look at how, as a person, what's the first step? How do people get involved in gang life? Getting involved in a gang can start with street grooming. When we mention the word grooming, people normally think for something sexual, like an older male grooming a younger female or an older female grooming a younger male. But street grooming is where a gang or gang members influence and try and attract young people into gang activities, try and catch them. And normally, an older gang member can spot a vulnerability within a young person. So it's almost like the young person's got a beacon on their head, or, you know, something written on the forehead saying, I'm vulnerable, look at me. Gang members will start by looking after the young person, buying them flashy things. And all a young person wants in this day and age really is the latest trainers and a nice tracksuit. They're happy with that. But they start to offer them these things, and it attracts them. You know, they've got nothing. So yeah, if someone's going to buy me these trainers, you know, that's how they are. And I've even come across people who have started grooming people at very young ages. There was an incident in London where a gang member, an elder in the community, was running from the police, and he had a bag of drugs, and he gave the drugs to a child about 8 years old and said, can you hold this for me? I'll give you £5. The young person held the drugs for him, obviously came back for his drugs. To the young person, that guy was his hero because he gave him £5. So this is how easily and how people can get involved. So, you know, this guy is going to come back, the gang member is going to come back to the young person now, and he can be involved in such a young age just because of a circumstance or situation. As we said before, they target children and females, males and females, who are vulnerable and showing signs of weakness. When we look at street grooming, you can see in the pyramid the stages, and the first stage is to target the victim. Especially in London, we call it chicken shop grooming. Young people love to go to the chicken shop after school and that. They'll be in there, and that's where you'll find the dealers hanging around and say, yeah, do you want a box of chicken and chips? A young person can think, yeah, this guy's being nice to me, so yeah, I'll take it. Then they start gaining the trust after they'll make sure they're kind of popping up quite frequently. Then they kind of start befriending the young person. Then after a period of time, the young person thinks, yeah, I can get my chicken and chips from this. They'll probably throw them a little £20 note as well. Then they're starting to fill a need, because a young person doesn't have anything and he's got somebody who's going to give him what he doesn't have. So the young person is actually kind of looking forward to going to that chicken shop after school, or thinking, yeah, I'm going to bump into this elder who's going to look after me. Once the trust is gained and the need is being filled, the young person's kind of in. Once they're in, they can start isolating the child. So instead of going to the chicken shop or going where everybody is, they'll start isolating the child. So they get them to meet them in different places. And this is where they start getting into their heads and telling them that they can start making a lot of money. See that little £20 they gave you? That's nothing. How would you like to make a few £100? How would you like 7 pairs of those trainers? What I got you so you can wear a pair every day. These things will be very enticing to the young person, and they'll say, don't tell anybody. So now they're getting isolated, and they're getting to a stage where they're thinking, yes, I have nothing. This is something. This is great. I'm feeling good wearing my trainers. You know, I want 7 pairs of these. I want a few £100 in my pocket. Yeah, it's good. So up until this stage, nothing's been mentioned about committing crime or anything. That's the next stage. Now they're in. Now they're hooked. They'll say, right, all you need to do is hold this for me. They'll get young people to hold things in their houses, hold things on their person. And they know that a young person, under the new laws, they don't have to say who, if they get caught with any type of drug, they don't have to say where they got it from. They just say they're fearing for their life and somebody gave it to them, and that's the end of it. So the groomers know this. So now they're actually holding drugs or selling drugs. Once they've started doing this, this is when the tables turn. Now the person who is getting the young person to sell drugs for them starts maintaining control. So then it turns from, if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you. They'll threaten with violence. They'll threaten them that they're going to expose them, things like that. So now they've got full control of that child or young person. Also, what a lot of gangs do is they'll set a young person up with a specific amount of drugs, and they will get them robbed on the way home. Now they own that young person, because that young person actually has to work back to get the drugs back that have been taken. So they own them and they control them, and that's when they're in, and that's when it gets difficult to come out of it at that stage. Right, we're going to look at the signs of grooming. The signs of grooming aren't always obvious, and groomers will often go to great lengths not to be identified. So let's look at some of the ways in which to look at, to recognise if a child is being groomed. They may become very secretive, including about what they're doing online. As I said earlier, online is making things a lot easier, and we have to really look at our children and everything. We have to really look at what our children are doing online, if they're secretive in their bedrooms, on the computer or on the phones all the time, on the internet. We really have to be careful. They might start to be hanging around with older boyfriends or girlfriends, which we have to look out for. When we ask them who they've been out with, where you're coming from, we need to know where our young people are. And that's for our own children and young people that we're working with, or young people in the church that we're mentoring. They may start going to unusual places to meet friends, like somewhere where they've got to go on a train or a bus, so it's not local. That's a big telltale sign of they might be going to another town or somewhere to commit crime or sell drugs, which I mentioned earlier, county line, selling drugs, a line which is taken out to a rural place where a house is set up, which we call a trap house, where young people are basically held against their will to sit there for days without having to wash or anything, selling drugs. So we have to always make sure we know where our young people are. We have to make sure, they haven't got lots of train tickets on them. We have to check that they haven't got bags of drugs, which are usually wrapped up. We call them pebbles. They're usually heroin or crack cocaine. And a lot of young people are asked to secrete these into them, and so they're carrying it like that. That alone is sort of like, we've got CCE, which is child criminal exploitation, and we've got CSE, which is child sexual exploitation. But an adult asking a young person to secrete drugs inside them, it's very borderline between sexual exploitation as well. They come back with new things such as clothes, the latest trainers as we spoke about, tracksuits, mobile phones, which is normally their drugs line, a little burner phone, or they might even have a nice smartphone, an iPhone or something, which is something that's been given to them for doing what they're doing. They can't explain it, they won't explain it. This is a telltale sign. Also, somebody who's very talkative may become isolated and withdrawn and doesn't want to talk and doesn't want any eye contact with you. So that's a sign and symptom that they're being groomed. They may have access to drugs and alcohol. Young people like to go missing for a night or a few hours or anything. They may come back drunk or high on drugs. So we need to look at how is a young person this age having access to drugs and alcohol. So it's another telltale sign. Looking out for obvious things like abuse, physical abuse, where people have got bruises on their arms, or, they might be quiet, the opposite, and come out and start being very either sexualized or very confident. So we have to look at the change in behavior. In older children, signs of grooming can easily be mistaken for normal teenage behavior, but you may notice unexplained changes in behavior or personality. As I just mentioned, inappropriate sexual behavior for their age. So now we're going to look at the support we can give to help these young people to exit from gang life and gang culture. And it's not easy. And as a church, our church motto is "Come as you are," because a lot of young people are stigmatized and judged by everybody, by people in the community, criminal justice, police, teachers, youth offending officers. So we need to give these young people a safe space where they can come and feel non-judged. They can feel that they can be themselves and come and get support. Obviously, we've got Reconnect Christian Mentoring Service, and we want to offer these young people mentors. We want to offer them mentors that understand. You know, we have some people in church who have been through the gang culture, criminal activity, and we want those to share their experiences. We want to make these people feel that they can open up. It's not going to happen overnight. And also, these young people need something else. They need to swap what they're doing for something else. You know, they need to transfer the energy that they've been putting into the gang life into something positive. So through the Christian mentoring service, we will help them to go through that journey, and we'll set something up with them to allow them to change. We'll encourage them to come to church. We'll encourage them to get involved in voluntary things that are happening within the church, and we'll encourage them to pray and to tell them about Jesus, and you can be forgiven for what has happened. Show them about changing mindsets. Show them about the new life that you can have, where everything's been forgiven. New start, new mercies every morning. So that's what we need to do as Christian mentors. We need to encourage, we need to support, we need to be non-judgmental, and we need to allow that person a safe outlet to be able to talk about what has been going on for them. We need to look at protection and safeguarding as well. The Christian Mentor Service, we have a church safeguarding policy and procedure, which we will adhere to. So we need to show the young person that if they disclose anything to us that harm is going to be caused to them, or they're going to have to cause harm to somebody else, then we will have to report that to the relevant authorities. But we show them that they can talk to us about things that are private and confidential, but we have to protect that young person. So if there's anything they tell us that, you know, as I said, we may have to disclose that. So we have to let them know that when we first start working with them. There are many good community support networks out there as well. Peer-led organisations who, as I said, have been through things themselves. They've been through the gang, they've turned their lives around. They're doing jobs now, helping young people in gangs, they're doing things in the church. So we have to support people, and you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, so we all have to do our part as a community. It's not going to happen overnight, but with the right support, people can start to exit the gang and look at a plan B and get a new life plan. We need to ask young people what their dreams and aspirations are. Once they come to recognise that, we can help them reach their full potential. But we have to do this together, and I believe that we can support these people, and it's each one teach one. You know, if we've had good support ourselves, we pass that down to the young person, they pass it on to the next young person. So we need to be aware of what's going on our streets, and we need to be aware of these young people and the support they need. And we need to come together and help them to exit this gang life, because it will end up in two ways: either doing imprisonment, life in prison, or 6 foot in the ground, so dead or prison. They're the only two ways if people continue in this life. So let's support, let's save our young people, let's invest in our young people's future together. If you need a mentor, or you want to get in touch with the Reconnect Christian Mentor team, then please check out our website, ngcnottingham.com. Thanks for listening.